Sleep well, Lee. You will see the morning. Leevant stood before the temple in Sukkakos. He had finally made it back. Citizens mulled around the outer courtyard dressed in filthy rags and caked with mud. They greeted each other with open arms. Mindless conversations droned with monotone perspectives of, I did this, or I did that, and look at what a good person I am. Their eyes were sunken in from malnutrition. These were not the people Leevant remembered. He didn't care. He took his 2 doves, one in his right hand and the other in his left, and walked through the outer courtyard. Citizens turned their backs on Leevant. 2 guards, armed with spears and dressed in the skin of a freshly killed deer, stood at the gates entering the inner courtyard. They crossed their spears when Leevant tried to enter. What be your business here? Their voice lacked any rhythm or inflection. Leevant brimmed with excitement. He had finally made it back. I'm here to give my offering. He raised the 2 doves to show the guards. One looked at the other. With those? They laughed. Yes, they're without blemish. The guard on the right frowned with disgust. Not good enough. I see a blemish on that one. Don't you, Selkin? The other guard nodded. What? The law was clear. All sacrifices had to be unblemished. Leevant looked at his doves. Each was a perfect white. There were no marks of brown, black, or any other discoloration. I don't understand. They're not good enough. But for a few pieces of silver, we may overlook your fault. It had always been that those who lacked an unblemished sacrifice could pay for a substitute. But look! Leevant held his hands up. They are fine. We say that they are not. Pay or go home. Leevant couldn't leave. He had begged for this since leaving Sukkakos. How much silver? All of it. You want everything? The guard on the right nudged the other. Isn't forgiveness worth it? His money bag was tied to his belt. He couldn't get to it without risking letting the doves go. I can't let these doves go. Please take the money on my belt. One guard leaned his spear against the gate and walked to Leevant. All of his teeth had rotted out. His breath was a foul stench of dead flesh. What's the matter? Disgusted at something? No, I just want to get in. Please hurry. I can't wait any longer. The guard untied the money bag. His face was less than an inch from Leevant's. Anything for forgiveness, eh? Leevant set his face to the altar. Whatever it takes. The guard returned to the gate. We were wrong. The sacrifices are pure. You may go on. The inner courtyard was horribly mishappened. Once proud columns which held up awnings were warped. The inner courtyard floor, once perfect marble, was pitted, cracked, and covered with swamp mud. Those in the inner courtyard sloshed about, some losing their balance, and they all laughed at it. The stench was nothing short of decay. Leevant forced himself to continue. He cautiously stepped through the inner courtyard to the high altar. A priest, covered in grime, came from behind the altar, his long robe drug in the muck. His skin festered with lesions that oozed pus. His nose was crooked hard to the right, and his hair was unkempt. His eyes were covered by some kind of fish or snake scales. The priest's voice wheezed. Welcome back, Leevant. It has been a long time. I have brought the appropriate offering for forgiveness. He held out the doves. It would appear so. What would you have me do? Perform the atonement. The priest motioned to the guards. Is that what you want? Forgiveness? Leevant's heart raced. Please, have mercy. Mercy? The priest's mocking tone gurgled with contempt. What have you done that would warrant mercy? I need it, his voice cracked. He was so close, the priest had to perform the sacrifice. The priest picked a swamp beetle out of his hair. How much do you have? I have the offerings. What more do I need? You need to make it worth my while, Leevant. What have you brought for me?" He flicked the beetle at Leevant. Panic overwhelmed Leevant. "Nothing. The guards took all my money." "They did? Well, I'm afraid I have nothing to offer you." "You don't offer anything. Atonement is from Adonai." The priest crossed his arms and looked down at Leevant. "I must perform the service. I will not do it for free." "It's your duty." Leevant looked around. This had to be a mistake. Maybe there was another priest who could perform the sacrifice. Guards, take this criminal away." "No!" Leevant turned to see the 2 gate guards running towards him. "You can't do this." "You are unworthy of mercy, Leevant. Die like the coward you are." Leevant tried to run in the mud. He slipped and fell hard on his back. The guards, however, were not slowed. Leevant held the 2 doves tight. He was too afraid to let them go. He needed them for atonement. He rolled over to his stomach and used his elbows to elevate his body while he slid his knees under him. The guards closed in. Leevant struggled to regain his footing. He felt hands grab his back and Leevant was thrown down. The doves flew from his hands. Leevant verged on hysteria. "No!" "Come with us, little one. It will end soon enough." The guards laughed. "I can't believe this. What is going on? What's wrong with you?" "What's wrong with us? We're clean. You're the criminal." None of this could be happening. Leevant struggled to get free. "You call this clean? This is insanity." "It's time to cleanse the filth from our city." Leevant slipped in the muck. "The gates of the aqueduct can clean this." "It's time to clean you. To the gallows." "I'm here for atonement." The priest stuck his face in Leevant's. He smelled like a sewer pond filled with week old sewage in the dead heat of summer. "None for you." They drug Leevant out of the inner courtyard to the outer courtyard. All of the citizens pointed bony fingers at him and laughed. They mocked at him, saying, "He sought Adonai. What a fool." Leevant struggled to get free. He saw the gallows leaning in the distance. Thick ropes dangled from wooden beams on a rickety platform. The rotten wood creaked at their every step. The ropes, unlike the rest of the decaying city, were new. The high priest addressed the crowd. "Citizens, here stands a criminal." The crowd cheered. The high priest continued, "Do you wish to know his crimes?" "Yes," the crowd called. The priest unrolled a scroll. The paper unrolled down in front of the priest, on top of the gallows platform, over the side, and into the muck below. Leevant felt the rope around his neck. The high priest called crime after crime of the laws Leevant had broken in his life. "Please, have mercy." He couldn't argue the charges against him. In his heart, he knew he broke every law the priest mentioned. "There's got to be something." His voice was weak and his throat dry. He had no excuses. There was no one to blame other than himself. He was guilty before the law. The priest turned. "Son, you are a criminal. You're not like the righteous citizens of Sukakos here. You're not one of us. You deserve to die." "I did what I was supposed to do. I brought the sacrifices. I did what I was supposed to do." "It wasn't good enough." "Then what is?" A voice burned deep within Leevant. It ripped through his soul, filling his mind with a crisp breath, and caused his very spine to tingle. It was one word. Love. Leevant's eyes were shocked open. His mouth was dry from shallow breaths. He couldn't move. He laid there and stared at the apartment ceiling.